What is going on, DeHave Nation? Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day today. Welcome back to the channel. And for today's video, folks, I'm going to be giving you guys 5 of my biggest NBA hot takes. Some of these are all-time hot takes, and some of these are current NBA hot takes. I may or may not say something about your favorite player. I don't know. I'm coming in hot here. Let's get right into it. Hot take number 1. Stats do not mean what they used to in the NBA for superstar NBA players specifically. I just feel like as an NBA community, we've become desensitized to just otherworldly stats and stat lines that these players are putting up. Let me give you a quick example here. I am a Sixers fan. I have been all my life. I started watching basketball in 2010. Our 2 best players that season were Elton Brand and Andre Iguodala, who averaged 15 points a game each. Okay? We were an 8 seed that year. If you told me back in 2010 that the Sixers would have the MVP of the league, who averaged over 30 points a game, 10 rebounds, and is an elite rim protector, oh yeah, and then combine that with 2 20-point scorers at the guard position, 1 averaged 10 assists and led the league, and a solid power forward that put up 15 points a game on really good shooting efficiency, I would say that was the best team of all time back in 2010. That's what I would tell you. I wouldn't even believe it, number 1, and I would tell you that sounds like the greatest team ever. Let me tell you something. That team lost in the second round of the playoffs. So that's just an example. I feel like, every other day you see like a 40-point triple-double by someone, Luka Doncic, or some of these guys that are just putting up ridiculous numbers on crazy efficiency, and I feel like it's really desensitized us to just how good some of these stats have become. I know that's probably not the hottest take in the world, but I thought I'd start off small. We're gonna get into some good ones, folks. Second hot take about the current NBA: Jimmy Butler is extremely undervalued as a player. Let me ask you a question right now. Is Jimmy Butler a top 5 player in the NBA? Is he even in your top 10 players right now in the NBA? Probably a lot of you would say yes, maybe around like 9 or 10 or something like that. I never see him in anyone's top 5, but if we really think about this for a second, we consistently put guys like Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, and Joel Embiid ahead of him in the top 5 lists. But if you're starting a team tomorrow, honestly, Jimmy Butler, he has led a team of decent supporting cast players to the finals twice in the last 4 years. And in 2022, he was 1 shot away from doing it again. That guy is barely in the top 10. I just think that's a little ridiculous. I'm guilty of it too. I get that those guys on paper are more talented than Jimmy Butler. I get the whole inconsistent regular season type of thing. This guy wins games in the playoffs. He carries his team to extreme heights almost every year now, yet we still don't rank him in, close to the top 5. It just kind of blows my mind a little bit, where a lot of these other guys like Tatum, like Embiid, like Kevin Durant consistently have better supporting cast players, superstar players that they play with, and just haven't consistently achieved what Jimmy Butler has in the playoffs. And this is coming from a salty Sixers fan who's still upset about the Jimmy Butler thing. I'll probably never get over it, to be honest with you guys, how much the Sixers organization fumbled that whole thing. But I'm just being honest, man. I feel like you play for the playoffs, right? So this guy is arguably the best playoff performer that we've seen in the last 5 years, yet he's nowhere near our top 5s. I just think it's a little ridiculous. Like, what are we doing, man? Consider Jimmy close to your top 5. That's all I got to say. But yes, Jimmy Butler is extremely undervalued. I just think at a certain point, success in the playoffs relative to expectation has to be something we consider when we're ranking the best players in the NBA. Moving on. Now we're getting a little bit more controversial here, folks. This hot take is Paul George is a better all-time player than Carmelo Anthony. I will stand by this, okay? I'm not really a Melo hater or anything like that. I loved his game. The way he handled the whole Knicks thing when they were just making life difficult for him. And, I gained a lot of respect for Melo over that time. But listen, man, Paul George is the better all-time player. If you want to make a case that Melo is a better scorer, fine. I don't even disagree with that. I think as far as scoring, wings and forwards go, Melo is right up there all-time. But listen, man, when we're getting down to it and we're talking about who is a more versatile player, who impacts winning more on a consistent basis over their career, I'm taking prime Paul George, man, every single time. For starters, Paul George is a better defender by a mile. I don't think anyone can even dispute that at all. One of the best two-way wings we've ever seen in the league. And honestly, I think he's a better winner overall. I know that the Clippers years recently haven't, looked so good for PG. And that's fair. That's fair to say if you're going to bring that up. But this is a guy that we're talking about, PG, at 22 years old, before he was even in his prime. Took the 2013 Miami Heat, who, by the way, had the best version of LeBron James we've probably ever seen. He took that team with no all-stars on the Pacers. I know the Pacers were a pretty good team, but the 2013 Heat to 7 games, man. He went right back at LeBron every time. It was a battle. 7-game series with the 2013 Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, I just think, and by the way, he did beat Melo in the second round that year. Prime Melo, by the way, 28-year-old prime Melo. I don't think it's fair to critique Melo for that too much. I'm going to be a little easy on him here because honestly, Melo had like no help and he did outperform PG in that series. But listen, man, if we're talking about winning basketball games and who I'd rather have on my team all time, I'm taking Paul George. Way more versatile. Melo is obviously the better scorer, but I wouldn't even say the scoring gap between them is so great that it makes a world of difference anyway. Like, they both had their moments in the playoffs, good and bad, let's be real. But I'm sorry, you know, Melo fans, Knicks fans, whatever, I'm taking PG. I'm not even saying like he's far and away a better all-time player. I just think we got to be real about Melo and, you know, his career shortcomings. I know he didn't really have the help all the time, and, you know, when he was in his prime, he was in the Eastern Conference with the Heat. But listen, man, you got to do better than the second round. I'm just, you know, if we're going to give the smoke to Joel Embiid for that, if we're going to give the smoke to James Harden for that, why not Carmelo Anthony? That's all I'm saying. Keep a consistent standard for elite players in the NBA. That's all I'm saying. This next one is going to annoy a lot of people, and it's, you know, this is probably the most hot take of all. While we're on the subject of great all-time, you know, forwards and wings, I'm taking Kawhi over KD on an all-time list any day of the week. I wouldn't say that it's like 5 spots higher. KD's in my top 20, top 15 for sure. I just see a lack of Kawhi on a lot of these all-time lists, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really understand the logic behind it. If you can give me a logical argument other than KD's a better scorer, I'm all ears. I just haven't heard one, you know? Let's just compare them for a little bit. Both 2-time champions, both 2-time finals MVPs, but not all rings are created equal. I know that KD is a top 3 scorer of all time. Maybe you can make a case he's the greatest scorer of all time. He's a walking 30 piece with great efficiency. I understand he has the longevity, but, you know, if I'm being honest with you guys, and I am wanting a player who is going to be the far and away #1 option, undisputed #1 option on a championship team that I'm building, I'm taking Kawhi Leonard, man. He has yet to lead a team where he is far and away the best player on the team to a championship, and he's had lots of help over his career. You know, I know that certain things get in the way sometimes, and it's not all his fault all the time, but if we're being honest, man, Kawhi, all-time great defender, can't even really argue that, 2-time DPOY, all-time great defender, and he's also capable of putting up 30 points a night on great efficiency. See the 2019 Toronto Raptors championship run. And listen, I know it's a trendy thing to do to hate on Kawhi's legacy because of his load management and all that. Whatever's going on in, you know, LA with the Clippers right now, I don't know. But if we're just talking about legacy and we're just talking about all-time rankings, I have Kawhi higher than KD. I know that that's controversial, and I know that people will get upset about that, but Kawhi has the talent. He's more versatile, better resume, more ability to carry a team to an NBA championship. That's Kawhi Leonard. My final hot take is an all-time one, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is one that really, I will die on this hill. Hakeem Olajuwon is a greater all-time player than Shaq and Wilt Chamberlain. I never see him higher than Shaq or Wilt on these lists. I just don't understand it. I mean, I do understand it, and I'm a Shaq guy. If you want to say Bill Russell's better all-time, I don't disagree with that. I think that's fair to say. Kareem as well. I think Kareem is a greater all-time player. But let's just talk about Shaq, right? Because that's the big one. Hakeem Olajuwon is a much better defender than Shaq. You could make a case that Hakeem is the greatest defensive player in NBA history. Some might say Bill Russell. I'm fine with that, but he is at the worst. He is a top 3 defensive player in NBA history. He is a playoff riser who won back-to-back finals. People are going to say, oh, well, he won those finals without Jordan while Jordan was playing baseball. One, that's partially true, okay, because Jordan was in the NBA for one of those years. He just didn't make it out. I think it was the second round, maybe. That's the year that Shaq went to the finals, Shaq and Penny. I know Shaq, it wasn't Lakers Shaq, right? But Hakeem dominated Shaq in that final. He swept Shaq in the finals. Hakeem has had way less help on his teams that he carried to back-to-back NBA championships than Shaq has won any championships with. 3 with Kobe, 1 with Wade, in which he was the second best player on the team in the Miami series. All I'm saying is, if you want to say, yeah, Shaq has more rings than Hakeem, double the rings, right? Hakeem was a consistent playoff riser, one of the greatest defenders, had the offensive game, better longevity than Shaq, and he is the only player to win MVP, Finals MVP, and DPOY in the same year. If that's not crazy peak, I don't know what is. So I understand that. I get the argument that Shaq is probably had the most dominant, 3-year peak of any player in NBA history. I'm totally with that. I agree. But to say that Hakeem isn't at the very minimum on par with Shaq career-wise, all-time on a list, I think is crazy. I think think it's very underrated. I think Hakeem had way less help and did more with less in his career. And then Wilt Chamberlain, you know, they have the same amount of rings, and Wilt was pretty much a big playoff choker, if I'm being honest. So, you know, relative to his era, he couldn't really dominate the other bigs in the league like Bill Russell. Anytime those two faced off in an important series, Russell would win, except for, I believe, 67 with the Sixers. But all I'm saying is Hakeem has the rings, he has the talent, he has all of it. He has all of it over Shaq, in my opinion. I don't think it's, you know, a wide margin, but I think he is better. Some people are going to think that's crazy, man. I love Shaq. He's my guy. Loved him as a player, but listen, man, not just what he did to my Sixers in 01. You can make a case second best center in NBA history. He is at minimum the third best center in NBA history, higher than Shaq, higher than Wilt. Those are my hot takes, man. Let me know what you guys think. I didn't write like a crazy script for this video, so sorry if it was a little all over the place, but, you know, let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong about certain things. I totally, you know, I'm for that. I'm here for that. Make sure you guys drop a like on the video if you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys just have a great rest of your day today. More videos to come. This is your boy DeHave, and as always, peace out, buddies.